Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at extract and matching using regular expressions inside R. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. So I'm inside R now, and this is a little bit more of a complicated video in terms of how we're going to go about doing things, but we're just going to learn together. So first, I'm going to focus on loading up my different packages that I need here. So I'm going to use dplyr, string R, and tidyr. Those are the ones I'm going to be using. In our first example, we're going to be doing matching. So we're going to be using something from the string-er package, str_match. Let me go ahead and show you exactly what we're going to be doing here. Excuse me. And so here's our string right here. I didn't put it inside an object. So we got this name, colon, this right here, and then this right here was warning, colon, password. So this might be something you might see if you're pulling stuff from a document or whatever, or something that's not quite formatted properly yet. And so the important thing for us is the pattern here. So this is what we're trying to tell R. Find digits at least. So \\d means digits, and then the plus sign means one or more. So find some digits or find some numbers, one or more. That's like our first group. That's why they're inside parentheses. Then find any letter, A through Z, upper or lowercase, more than one. That's our second group right there, followed by a comma, and then we are repeating this. Find any number of letters. That's why they're inside brackets, capital letters or lowercase letters, and then it could be one or more. So this is our pattern. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And you can see right there in the output in the lower left part of the screen, the first part is the original group that we found, basically all the things that we found. And then in 2, 3, and 4, they split it apart. So this is the pattern that they found. So you can see 25 is clearly digits. Tom is definitely containing letters A through Z, whether capital or lowercase. And then Dan is the next one. Notice how everything is separated by commas. And then over here, they split it apart into like separate, almost you can call them separate columns if you want to, because this is technically a list, I believe. So again, now when are you going to use this? Who knows? But it's a great way if you want to split apart a text. It's a great way to set things up so that they're in their own respective columns, and then you can go forward in your analysis from there. So let's go ahead and move to the next exciting demonstration. This one's a little bit more complicated. So let me try to explain this. We're going to use a data set called sentences. That's going to make sense in a second. So this is starting in line 10. This is available in the string-er package. So that's where we got this practice data set. So in line 10, I just want to show it to you real quick. So here's what it looks like. You can see it's just like a list, if you will, or vector or whatever you want to call it. And so we have these various sentences, and we're going to play with and manipulate this. Now, when I actually use the actual function in this particular example, I can't send it in as this vector, as you can see it right now. I have to send it in as a data frame. So in line 11, I'm just going to change this sentence vector or whatever you want to call it from its current state to a actual data frame. So this is the key right here. I'm creating this as.data.frame. I'm using the object sentences, and I'm saving it as sentences_df. So I'm doing that here. And now let's take a look again. You can see it's mostly the same, but now I clearly have a column called sentences. And you can see that the quotation marks are removed from each one. So this is line 1, line 2, all the way down to line 6. Exactly the same, but with a slight manipulation for the function I will be using. And so the function that I'm going to be using is, of course, is going to be a combination of things you find with dplyr and also with strmatch, our star from the previous example. So here we go. We're creating a new object called new_data. We're using the object we just created, sentence_df, and this is what we're doing. We're doing mutate, and we're making a new column called is_the. And so what we're telling is that, hey, str_match, look inside sentences and find the. And what's going to happen is that every single time it finds a the, the THE, in one of the many strings, there's over 700 of them, is going to put that in this new column called is_the. So again, this is a great way to split apart a string based on a specific criteria. And I know this is hard to understand right now, so let's just run it and then take a look. So now I'm going to use the view function, or I could just use head, but that wouldn't always work. It depends on if it has a the in it or not. So here, I hope you guys can see this because I can't make it much bigger. You can clearly see that we have sentences in the first column, and if the word the is there, it appears in this column that we just created. That's what's going on. So to give you a better view of this, I'm going to zoom down here because the first one has it. Okay, so right here, the birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. You can see the word the appears more than once. So it appears right here in this particular column. And you can replace that with, true or false or with a number or whatever. And it's a way to be able to understand if a string has a certain phrase, word, or pattern that you are looking for. Does that appear in that particular row? So again, you can see the only limit to regular expressions is, of course, your own creativity. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Now we're going to use multiple columns. We're going to create multiple columns, and that's going to require a little bit of a more complex approach. So now we're creating a new object called new_data_2, and we're using the extract function, which I believe that comes from tidyr, I believe. And so we're going to be reusing our previous object, sentence_df. And the column that we're going to be exploring is called sentences right here. That's this guy right here. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to split whatever we find in that column called sentences into two columns. One is called is_the, and the other one's called more. And here's our pattern. If it contains the in any character, we're going to put it in is the. And then if it contains any word, more than one or more, is going to contain, we're going to put that in the second column, basically. And right here, we're not going to remove anything. That's why it's set to false. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right, so here's what's happening. The function goes through and looks, and it says, do I find the? And it says, yes, it does. It finds the right here, and then we're going to find one more word after that. So then smooth. So that's why they're separated like that. Now notice, even though at the beginning we have a capital D, that doesn't match our pattern. Our pattern was lowercase d. So this is a very, very sensitive function. Let me zoom in for you for this. I'll use the head function. Oh, this is going to cut off like that. Okay. So let me just make this bigger like that. Run it again. There we go. All right. So this is our column sentences. This is what we're looking through. Now, is the means it found the word the, which is right here. And then we're just going to take one more word after that. And we took smooth. That's what we set up in our second part right here. That represents this. So any character can be right here. And then we're looking for one more thing. There's two groupings here. So because this is in parentheses, it's like the first group. It's the first thing we're pulling. Then there's going to be a space or any character that we put there. And then after that, it looks for the next character and takes that second one. So this the is here, then smooth. Then you can see right here, the and sheet are right here. So clearly we got the again because it's lowercase the, and then sheet because that's the next grouping of characters. Now, of course, the sentence continues, but notice if you look in line 24, I don't have any additional instructions for what to pull. And I have nothing inside the parentheses after that. So it just takes the next full word, basically. And that's what's happening there. So again, this is a great way to break up your text or to identify multiple patterns that you might have inside your string that you're trying to explore. Now, I think we have one more. This is really complicated, and this is just for demonstration purposes. So what we have here is we're using the str_extract_all. So it's going to extract everything that matches this pattern right here. This is really, really complicated. And so we have to make sure we understand exactly what's going on here. So this is my data right here. I'm taking the sentences column from the sentences_df data set. Remember, we created that about 2 or 3 minutes ago. And so now what we're doing is this. We have a couple of groupings here. We have this backslash W. That's so like any character. It could be a number. It could be letters, whatever, followed by a space. That's the first grouping. And so this is going to be 0 to 5 of these. So up to 5 words, if you will, if you want to understand it like that. Then we're going to have the word the followed by a space. And then we have a question mark. And what a question mark tells us is it tells us one time. So there's going to be one space, basically. That's what that's telling us. Then we have another grouping. We have at least one character and up. So 0 to 5 times this can occur. So that's what's happening here. So this is really complicated. Let's just see what happens. All right. So you can see here on the screen, we're going to look at this last one right here, number 720, when you hear the bell. So here's what's happening. We have 1, 2, 3. That matches this criteria because it cannot be more than, 5, obviously. And so notice how it's a word and then a space, a word and then a space, a word and then a space. And then after that, we have the, that's our star in the middle right here. And then there's one space and then we have a word and then no more spaces. That's why it stops at bell. Now, if we look at the original, hold on, let's see here. Here we go. If we look down, if we go down to row 720 in the original, you can see it says, when you hear the bell, come quickly. Now, the reason it stopped, let me see if I can copy and paste that. That'd be a lot easier. The reason it stopped is because after bell, there's a comma and our pattern does not accommodate that. So that's why it stopped right there. It didn't know what to do because I didn't specify how to deal with punctuation. And so you can see it matches that. Now, if you look at 719, she called his name many times. The word the never appears. That's why this is blank, because it did not meet the criteria. The word the must be somewhere in the sentence. Now, if you look at 718, you can clearly see that the word the is there. So we got a severe storm tore down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the space barn. And that's pretty much the end of the sentence. And this works because it meets the criteria of being 0 to 5 times. That's why. And so that whole sentence was taken. So you can see how you can really make this complicated and hard to understand and follow. However, we just want to make you aware of these different tools that can be used in combination with regular expressions. So let's see if we can kind of wrap up what we've talked about and conclude this video. So in this video, we looked at some advanced ways that you can manipulate and use regular expressions to deal with strings. We started by looking at a simple pattern here using groupings. And when I say the word groupings, I'm talking about when you put regular expressions inside parentheses to try to capture things in a different manner. So this is our first example. Then from there, we went over and we looked at how we can pull things and make new columns. So here in line 16, using some tools from the dplyr package and also from the tidyr package, which we're going to look at, we were able to create a whole new column whenever we use the word the in our actual object or data frame. The next example is where we learned about the extract function and how you can pull multiple patterns from a string and make new columns for each one. So it involves this. You got to, of course, give the new columns names right here. And then you got to set up your groupings for how they're going to be split apart, etc. Last but not least is we also learned about how you can make complex patterns where it pulls things according to a specific criteria, which again, I'm not going to re-explain this, but you can see how things get very complicated. So again, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you again for watching, and you take care.